So I started off by spray painting my canvas with a gray chalkboard paint and a flat white. Once that dries, I like to start with whatever's furthest in the background. In this case, that's the moon. And I'm just using titanium white here, putting it on pretty heavy, and then I'm just gonna blend it in on the other side so that kind of fades off. I'm using ivory black and titanium white for my background color trees, just creating different shades of gray with that. The trees that are closer to the foreground will be a little bit darker, while the trees that are further away will be closer to the color of the sky, so just a lighter gray. And since I want this to be a misty forest, I don't bring those trees quite to the bottom of the canvas because I want them to disappear into the mist. Okay, once I'm done with that, I'm moving on to my Christmas town tree here. I want that to be closer to the foreground, and so I'm using more vivid colors, using a lot more burnt sienna here with a little bit of titanium white and ivory black. You don't want to overbrush this because you want those streaks of lights and darks in the tree because it winds up looking like bark. And then just brush out the base so it looks like the tree is fading off into the mist. For the Christmas town doorway here, I used a ivory black, and I just really thinned that with mineral spirits. And I didn't have any hunter green, so I mixed my Viridian hue with a little bit of burnt sienna to get the color on the doorway tree here. I want a little brighter on the left side, a little darker on the right, and then just some highlights and streamers going across it. I'll come back and add some details of that later. Starting up on my pumpkin man, he's meant to resemble a snowman. For rounded objects like this, I like to use a filbert brush. And then the paints I'm using here are just a combination of rose madder and yellow ochre. And then some titanium white and some ivory black for my lights and darks. I also like to add those shadows in using the ultramarine blue on the shadow sides, just like that. And then a little bit of a dark outline just to make it pop out a little bit further. Just using a straight titanium white for the eyes and the mouth, just to kind of get that glow effect. And you can always come back, let this dry a little bit and come back and hit it some more if those colors are blending in with the background colors too much. And then that little bit of a black outline by thinning your ivory black with some of your mineral spirits. Make those eyes and the mouth pop out a little bit. Then you're going to want to add the base, again using that filbert brush and the same combination of colors. A little bit more shadow on the base because the head obviously will be shadowing the bottom part. And again, to get that misty look, I'm not going to paint this all the way down to the bottom side of the pumpkin. I'm going to leave it here and then just blend those colors in with the background a little bit. Give that illusion that the mist is in front of the pumpkin man. Moving on to my main character here, this is Jack Skellington. One of the easiest characters to paint in some ways because he's basically a stick figure. And you can't make him too skinny. He looks super cool when he's really tall and lanky like this. So one of the challenging things about painting him is that it's a lot of really fine work to add lights and darks. So I find myself using liners a lot. So I'm using the same colors here as I did on the rest of the painting. So ivory black and titanium white for most of Jack Skellington, but then also using the ultramarine blue mixed with a little titanium white for the reflected light on the shadow side. for creases and things like that, or dark spots like on his chest there where the jacket is covering him. I just stick with the ivory black to give my dark spots. I'm going to go ahead and shut up a little bit and let you just watch some of this now. Feel like I should have filled that awkward silence with some music or something. I don't know. Not movie maker. All right, so Jack's going to be dropping a Santa hat on the pumpkin man here. So I'm just using that rose madder and mixing it with the titanium white and the ultramarine blue and the ivory black to get the bright spots, the highlights, the reflected light on the shadow side, and the shadows. Just kind of let it do its own thing here. When you brush it on, it kind of just creates these lights and darks, and then you could just go back and add the highlights where you want them. At this point, I'm really liking the way this painting's turned out, but I'm also getting a little nervous. I'm going to mess something up. So I draw Jack's head in before I try to paint it. That also gives me that outline that makes his head pop a little bit later on, so that worked out pretty good. All that's really left at this point is a lot of fine detail work with the liner, so just try not to stick your hand in any of that oil paint that's already on the canvas, and everything should be pretty good. Stick with your same color schemes with the highlights kind of facing the moon, the deep shadows with black, and the reflected light on the shadow side with the ultramarine blue. And you should wind up with a pretty decent painting. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any suggestions for me, go ahead and hit me up.